Kia ora, this program is brought to you by Wellington Access Radio. Wellington Access Radio, make your voice heard.
Hey, welcome back to the Blackhouse with Leah, and somewhere on the sound desk. What's going on over there? Have you got everything working? Yeah. Okay, cool. Tommy's still away, smashing out those exams, I hope, or all those tests that you got to go through. COVID level 1, yay. I'm glad it's COVID level 1 because level 2 is getting to my brain. Anyway, there's been lots of events happening, and the last weekend at Moon, we had Dee Matthews and Tyson and Andy Fisher down at Moon there, jamming it up. I hope they had a good night. T went down there. He said it was pretty good. We've had Reza Beezer at Moon. We've also had Jess B in Wellington just recently. And Jess B and Reza Beezer are also on the finalists for the AMAs. That's the Aotearoa Music Awards. So that's something to look out for when that comes up. But today we've got a special guest who was part of the New Youth Movement in Wellington, standing up to racism. She's also a media person. She's instrumental in facilitating and mediating the BLM at the Roxy event at Miramar not so long ago, which I personally think she did really, really well. And she's also delved into the podcasting realm too, and she's currently a graduate at Vic University with a bachelor's in developmental studies and is working towards postgrad. So I'd like to welcome Paida Mahowa. Is that right?
Yes, that's me.
Can you hear her on the tape? Is she sounding good? Yes. Cool.
Yeah, thank you.
So how's things?
Things are good. I just want to first say thank you for having me, and it's finally awesome to be here.
Well, it was only fitting after I met you at the Roxy. I was thinking, us podcast chicks need to just get together and just sit down and have a yarn about all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
No, we always have good yarns. I always love having a chat with you.
So, tell me about what are you up to at the moment? Just tell us, first of all, before you even get to that, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, where you're finding yourself right here in Wellington.
Well, first, I was born in Zimbabwe. So my family is from there, and we moved to New Zealand in 2003. And I am from a town called Shurugwi. My mum is from a town called Rushavane, so I'm like between those two communities and places. I'm a Shona woman, so there's different groups in Zimbabwe, but I belong to that group. And so we made our way to New Zealand. My dad first came here, and our first landing stop was in Invercargill.
Invercargill?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And
you were one of 1.5 black people in Invercargill, I bet.
Well, there was a few people who were working on the farms and that, because that's what my dad was doing at the time. So it was a way for people to come in and get, work visas and work opportunities working down south. And I always like to say, it was a shock for me in Invercargill. So we had a really good introduction to each other. They didn't know who I am, and I didn't know who they were. So
was it? What was it like? Just when you first arrived there, Well, it must have been cold.
Yeah, so that was the first thing because we arrived at Christchurch Airport because obviously there's no international airport in Invercargill. And the first thing I remember was going through those doors and then you just feel that gush of wind. So I was like, ooh, I don't know what we're in for. But everything just like looked mesmerizing. Like I was 9 at the time, so everything is like bigger than you and looks weird and different. But we didn't spend a lot of time. We were there for about 3 months.
Okay.
Because it was kind of a hard place for my mum to get work. So then we moved to Christchurch.
Right.
Yeah, so we lived in Christchurch from 2000 and I like to say 2000 and end of 2003 or 2004, 2005. So not long. Yeah, so a year, almost 2 years. Not great with the timeline, but so they were able to get work there in Christchurch, which was a very interesting place to live at that time.
Yeah. So I remember when I was in Zimbabwe, it's not that, it can be quite cool too. Like you have that cool weather as well.
Seasons match to this side of so it's spring in Zimbabwe at the moment, like it's spring over here.
Right. Yeah, because I was quite surprised because, you know, like I'd never been, the first place that I actually arrived when I went to Africa was Zimbabwe, and I was completely like cognitive dissonance everywhere. Like I was just like, what this isn't hot. Yeah. You know. There are no lions and tigers roaming the streets. Like,
I know,
what are they trying to teach us? You know, like all the nonsense, you had to unlearn all the nonsense that you learn in countries like New Zealand.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because my friends went and got all the books they could find out of the public library, and they're all about animals and the flora and the fauna. And I'm like, I'm going to see people, guys. I'm going to see people. Like, this is not helping me. Yeah. But no, I was like quite surprised by Zimbabwe and how familiar it felt, but unfamiliar at the same time, because the stuff that we've been taught about living in, you know, a major city in Africa is like next zero to nothing. Exactly. Like we learn all about how nice the safaris are. And things like that.
That's a metropolitan city like Harare, especially there. So you know, obviously because of like colonial history, so we have a lot of that infrastructure that would be similar to New Zealand because, you know, they were also colonized by England. So it's like things become similar because of similar histories, but I guess only kind of one group is understood to be more modern than the other. So
I actually met a few Zimbabwean people when they first started coming out here in the early 2000s.
Yeah, we all started moving around 2000s. Yeah. So obviously with the whole economic situation and having the highest inflation rate in the world and things like that, a lot of people who were able to sell assets and move out. So the big things were either you're going to the UK or you're going maybe like Canada at the time, but the big push was people going to England, but then or America. But the visas got a lot harder to attain to go to those places, because I think my dad initially thought, we'll move them to the UK. But he actually met a random guy in a pub and he told him, like, you should go to New Zealand. And that's literally how we were.
Oh my gosh.
Ended up moving to New Zealand. But yeah, so, you know, like I said before, we moved from, we were in Christchurch maybe until 2005, and then we moved to Wellington, which is where we've been.
So these were work visas?
So it was easier to get work visas by like securing work, obviously, in different parts. So then obviously working on dairy farms and stuff like that, they needed the people. So my dad was able to secure work down there, get a work visa. And then I think by the time we were in Christchurch, because of an allowance that Helen Clark made in terms of policies for Zimbabweans coming in because of the situation that was happening back home, we were able to get permanent residence and a work permit a lot more easily. So I remember distinctly the day where my parents were like losing their minds, like happy, so excited because we got these papers on our passports. I had no idea what it was, but it was a permanent residence, so very handy there.
Because in Perth, when we were in Perth, a lot of the Zimbabwean guys that work in the mines were all the tradies, and the Zimbabwean women were all the nurses. And it was kind of like that was the combo. You had the tradesman and the nurse. You know, and that made the perfect family.
Big. That was big because I think New Zealand values trades and things like that, so it's kind of you tick the mark for what kind of jobs that are needed for and kind of people that are needed in New Zealand. So like with most immigration things, they have to check like, would you actually suit jobs that we need people for in New Zealand? So that's why we end up having a lot of trades.
95.
Nurses,
95 I was there, and it was eight Zim dollars to $1, and I was like, I want to come back here and live. This place is cool,
when
man.
it was a good time.
And then it was just like all of a sudden everybody's running out of Zimbabwe, and I don't really know the backstory. I mean, people tell it depends which political side of the fence you're on. But it's unfortunate because it was like, to me, I just thought that was the first place I felt normal.
Breadbasket of Africa, it used to be called.
And when it was called the breadbasket, why was it called that?
Well, there was a lot of agricultural success. So, like, we used to supply a lot of, like, a big part of the world's, like, tobacco and stuff would come from Zimbabwe. And,
oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of agriculturally, we were supporting a lot of, like, other neighboring African countries and stuff. So, we were able to grow. Our agricultural infrastructure was top of the notch and really successful. So, like, literally, the bread comes from there because we probably grew the wheat and stuff. So, so that was the big thing there.
Cool. I think what we're going to do right now is we're going to go to that first song we've got here, and it's a track by Tiana Michelle. Now, Tiana's going to be performing at the African Day on November the 7th, I believe it is. She's a rapper from Auckland, Zimbabwean artist based in New Zealand, and this is her song, Counterfeits.
Why you cursing me? The universe is blessing me. I don't look no sleep, this hating shit ain't new to me. Maybe I'm a monster, maybe I'm a crazy. Ain't no hope for you, my friend, your mom's a crazy lady. I came from Africa, why I used to do some doggy shit. I guess I figured out how I became a crazy bitch. And tripping balls, making nose, don't you look at me? We all know that apple never falls from the tree. Don't try to figure me, I'll just tell you for free. Once upon a time I traveled through an ovary. Oh my God, once a nation, it's like about the knees. You always wanna figure out how I came to be. Why you cursing me? The universe is blessing me. I don't lose no sleep, this hating shit ain't new to me. Maybe I'm a monster, maybe I'm a crazy bitch. Ain't no hope for you, my friend, your mom's a counterfeit. Don't want no dramas, don't want no counterfeits. Don't want no Florentinas, don't want no Sanoses. Don't want no Winfrey's, don't want no Alexes. I'ma do that whoopie while you're cursing me. Don't want no dramas, don't want no counterfeits. Don't want no Florentinas, don't want no Sanoses. Don't want no Winfrey's, don't want no Alexes. I'ma do that whoopie while you're cursing me.
Keep it real right from the start. Haters say I'm out of it. They cannot recognize the real. They lay to rest as counterfeit.
I heard you like to dip your sausage in a jar. Your brother happy like to lick it out on handle raw. I'ma stop you back to Africa, not stop over. Shout out to Boris, don't trip over. Recall the NHB, yeah, you're irrelevant. And Teddy T, who I be, I'll make it permanent. Don't you mess with me, cause most probably I won't remember when you talking about the other me. And that's the thing about having many identities. I could dust you on my song and say it wasn't me. I'ma watch you try to guess who I really be. Nobody knows, not even me. Don't want no dramas, don't want no counterfeits. Don't want no Florentinas, don't want no Sanoses. Don't want no Winfrey's, don't want no Alexes. I'ma do that whoopie while you're cursing me. Don't want no dramas, don't want no counterfeits. Don't want no Florentinas, don't want no Sanoses. Don't want no Winfrey's, don't want no Alexes. I'ma do that whoopie while you're cursing me. Every morning when I wake up, things are happening. I'm surrounded by the ones who want the best for me. Shout out to all the homies that were there for me. Shout out to all the haters, you be blessing me. Why you cursing me? The universe is blessing me. I don't lose no sleep, this hating shit ain't new to me. Maybe I'm a monster, maybe I'm a crazy bitch. Ain't no hope for you, my friend, your mom's a counterfeit.
Hey, welcome back to the Black House. You're on 106.1 FM. And I'm with my guest today, Paida. Paida, I've loved radio forever and I'm very interested in the podcasting scene.
Yeah.
And one of my favourites, actually a couple of my favourites at the moment, is the Joe Budden podcast. I don't know if you've seen that. And I also like Dinner Truth. I don't know if you've seen this one.
Yeah,
That's
from
the Aussie one.
Australia.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Yeah, so tell me about the media projects that you are involved in.
So I have been working with Platform,
Right.
Which is like a media space that my brother and a couple of his mates started together. So it's still in progress at the moment. I have a lot of work to do for it and that kind of thing. But the whole idea of Platform was the fact that people can just bring content and get it put on one platform,
Right.
And kind of be able to share different aspects of whatever kind of content you want to put into the world that doesn't necessarily have a place to go.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was
So
it.
what's happening with that? Like, how's that? What's coming along with
So I think like my brother, he does music like majority of the time. So shout out to Wagwan.
Oh, yeah, Wagwan, right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So he was opening up for Church and Preach. Is it Church and Preach? Yesterday.
I think something like that. Yeah,
he opened for them yesterday. I can't remember what.
And he's got another show, hasn't he? Coming up soon. It's up the
so
coast.
they've had that one already.
Oh, they've done that. How did that go?
That went really well.
Mhm.
I mean, we thank God that we got out of level 2, so then they were able to have more people come along.
Yeah.
So I think that was really, really successful. It was at the Capricorn's Car Museum.
Right.
Yeah, so that's with like the neighborhood collective. They're the people who organized to put that whole showcase together.
Yeah.
And it went really well. I think it was a good time because everybody just wanted to be out and enjoying themselves in an awesome location. So that went really well. So that was really successful for him.
Yeah.
And then he also did the opening with Jess B as well. He opened up
That's
with her.
just recently at Meow.
Yeah,
right?
Meow, that was it.
Right.
So him and his business partners started Platform. So it's still kind of, we're trying to figure out, what's the best direction to be able to creating content and putting it out there. But I've been working on being a content contributor for them. So working on like an interview series, which is the kind of podcasting style that I really gravitate towards.
Yeah.
So depending on how things go, because people have multiple things to do, people are students, they work, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So if I'm not doing it with them, I'm definitely going to be taking the idea and maybe doing something on my own as well.
Right.
Because I really want to get into that idea of like storytelling, collecting stories. I'm really big about that.
Right.
Because for me, the big ethos I believe that moves the world forward is if we understand each other better. And the best way to understand people is hearing their stories and kind of the things that have made them be who they are.
That sounds like an amazing sort of thing for a podcast. It's a really good idea. Have you got ideas of people you want to line up for that? And
so I actually, with the content work that I was doing for Platform, one of the few people I did actually get to engage with is the Black Community Project Aotearoa. So they're the people who are actually behind putting together the event that we had at the Roxy that you were talking about, and also putting the march together that we had. That big march that happened, what month was it?
Oh my gosh. It just felt like it was in the middle of everything.
May, I think, May or June, I think. I'm pretty sure.
It was the V in the COVID.
Yeah, honestly.
V for victory.
Exactly. So that they're the young people really, very flattered to be considered in that age bracket. But the young people who were really putting that together and who came together through different support systems and were able to put the whole protest together. So I interviewed them, Black Community Project, and two girls actually from there was Beth and Rachel.
Right.
And so we just had a chat about why it's important to like have activism and the idea of telling your story and just a way to just be like this is what the heart, because my big thing is we don't know the intention of why people do what they do in the world, and so the kind of story collecting podcast that I would want to talk about, and the series I was starting was called Intended for Good.
Yeah.
So the big thing was the fact that I just assume my guest and whatever you're bringing into the world, you're intending it to be positive outcome.
Yeah.
And so we don't understand how it's done, why it's done. So this is the opportunity to have a chat
Yes,
and talk about
and getting into all those. I find that if you're interested in listening to what other people have to say, you learn a lot more.
100%.
Because one of the things we were taught a long time ago was that people don't tend to listen very much these days.
Yeah.
A lot of people
Sound bites.
it's sound bites, or we're just waiting for somebody to be quiet long enough so we can jump in and have. And I find it really good sometimes to, even though I do like to talk, I find it really good to actually try and focus and listen on what people are saying. And I think that, understanding people's motivations behind things is really
100%.
important.
So that's the whole thing. Assuming that what you're doing is intended to bring good into the world and having a conversation. So, like, for me, I like to have conversations with all types of people from all walks of life. Big thing is showcasing maybe those people that haven't had a chance to actually be known in communities, to be like, hey, that's our person who's really making a difference, but nobody knows who they are. Let's have an opportunity to celebrate them. But also, I was looking more from a solutions perspective, because we've had a lot of tension this year, whether it is from us fighting for our lives and trying not to catch coronavirus, or, with the whole coming to head of, the Black Lives Matter, that protest movement, which, is not just a protest. Some people really live it, trying to fight for their lives every day. And I was looking, where are we going to go? Because at the end of the day, like, one of the big things that came out from supporting that movement and supporting events around it was, I don't want, like, the whole idea of, like, race and, like, that kind of tension to be the totality of who we are, because we're all trying to actually live out a full existence as human beings. And the idea of racism is what is taking away from our ability to actually live out our full lives. So it's like, what do we, kind of like post that? Not saying that it's over. No, it's continuous. But we need to put, like, so what do we do with this energy? What do we do with this fight? And it's about giving people opportunities to live out their full lives, speak out their full story, and have a place.
So, okay. So when we're talking about what's happening next, like, so how do you envisage the what's happening with the BLM movement and all this energy coming up now, which I'm completely, as somebody who's been a Black Panther rider, ride or die for life,
An OG
in that scene, what do you see as areas where people could be really affecting some change or calling attention to things?
I think education is a really big thing. Finding opportunities. I know a lot of people, I've seen it in certain organizations where you there's something really hot and happening in the community. How do I look like I'm not adding to the problem? And a lot of it is that they don't have enough people engaged to kind of come and speak to the issue. So we are always looking for, like, who are going to be the experts and that kind of thing. And a lot of people there's no opportunity for funded, maybe if you do a workshop on, like, lived experience of racism, how do you counteract that within your workplace? That kind of thing. There hasn't been really something put together, or it's a bit too formal where you go to a university lecturer instead of kind of supporting youth to be like, hey, do you guys want to come together, share your experiences in your own way, and so that we can use it as an educational tool. So I'm really big on education as one of those things to do.
Okay.
And also supporting people, whether it was, Black businesses, Black owned, opportunities that people are trying to get into the business world and stuff like that, giving them, supporting them, because sometimes you don't know what to do. And so sometimes spending your money in supporting that organization is like one way to do it.
Right. Yeah, because I think, I'm really curious about ways that you could actually network people that have maybe some experiences that they could talk to
Yeah.
from the community.
Yeah.
Like, do you have a hot and cold book where you're going,
Yeah.
this person's really
Could
good,
be a
don't
good
go to that
expert
one.
for that,
You
yeah.
know what?
No, but like everything is, opportunity for someone to bring something like that together. And a big thing is about cultural competency. So whether we have like someone who gathers all the people who have the cultural competency training to take it into organizations or putting into events, or just literally like, for me, I always like to have like everyday conversations about, hey, I encountered this situation.
Yeah.
Is that racist, or is that a bit weird, or whatever? Without kind of like shoving it down the throat of people, but also just kind of making it accessible, I think is a big thing.
Yeah.
Like, you should always be calling out things. We should always be active in making sure that we don't let things slide and go unnoticed.
Yeah.
But like you said, there hasn't been really a resource that's been put together that's specific to the New Zealand experience.
Exactly. There's a lot of comparison with...
America.
You think there's a lot of comparison with America and the UK?
So most people will go... The first go book is like, anti-racism work, but it's all... done in American context or the UK context. Maybe because they've had longer diasporas in communities and bigger communities. And I really, for me, a lot of my identity politics and understanding the Black experience has been through those channels and through understanding content from those countries. But it hasn't been something that's been really lifted within the New Zealand specific context, which is maybe our history isn't very long.
Yeah, I think because I know America's got a lot longer literacy period as well, with actual authors and people writing about it. And I don't know that there's that much here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things authored by Africans in New Zealand. You can find a lot of stuff online, theses and stuff like that. But I think... I think there needs to be more people writing about it. There needs to be more people really delving into the psychology. I think you're absolutely right. That's been my thinking around that too.
Not even just writing, because I think not everyone's that's not accessible to them. But even like you said, like if you have a podcast idea, put it out there. If you want to do it through music, put it out there. If you want to do theatre is a really big one. Comedy is a really big one. Like, there's all ways that you can do it. But, like, I think kind of for more formal ways, I think writing and contributing in that space and even lecturing, all that kind of thing is really a way to do it as well.
Cool. Teach, I think we're going to go to the next track. And that's going to be a track from Masbo Q, formerly known as Unchained XL. He's a UK-born Nigerian hip-hop artist and producer with a unique Afrocentric sound. The Auckland-based musician born Hugh Zumba started out as the frontman of metal band East of Eden, making the switch to hip-hop in 2016. This is his song, Wait on My Bars, featuring Tabani Gapara. I hope I got that right. I'm sorry if my pronunciation isn't the best. Take it away, T.
Boops. We at it again. It's part 4. Hey. Hey. Check. Ebo Gredo. Yeah. When it come to intellectual class, I'm an aristocrat. Manufactured where they exported homies to Trinidad. A combination of this and that. A puzzle cast like 1,000 followers with 0 pictures on Instagram. I'm compelled to be against the match. Trajectories international. Cooking beats with exceptional chitter chat. Yup, this is rap. I'm steadily spitting facts. Killing tracks as easy as Yankee Football. We killing blacks. And boat stoppers, they can get these hats. We jump through hoops to get a visa. We globe-trotting immigrants. If you against the grain, I'm celiac. Even though when we from Chapel wasn't bred to being herds or being packs. Yo, I seek an asylum in the land of ghosts, where the Cooties, Munster Kellers, and the Jacksons go. I'd be glad to boast of being half as dope, breaking new ground and crack a road like a snapper plastic Afro cone. Used to hate my hair, but links is what they flack the most. Some kids be laughing, they ass up, others be passing notes. Now plastic doctors go relaxing boats, owning practice and selling fake African features, collecting cash for those. And now I be getting cash for shows, but I'm chewing Panado and jumping like antelope, trying to catch a rope to pull myself over and give all my partners a hand to grow. But in the process, trying to grab the gold, be bad to bones. Smashing my goals, open the gates, kick her to keep us out. Anyone try to be striking it bigger than industry, don't want to speak about. But I know that no weapon formed against me will keep me down. So I ain't freaking out. Over their arsenals, I fear scouts. And you won't see me cracking like a leaky house. Just me, you get Disney, no Mickey Mouse. Now I'm playing violence is not what I be about. But I'ma just rethink that if you try to bring them kiki's out. I'm people without any tolerance for supremacists. But it gets real hard to show your friendlies where the exit is when they say they're your ally, but they is acting a nemesis. And you discovered that they was there from the genesis. This whole entire industry is where my terrace is. So I jettison fake rappers out of my premises. I dispense curse-less antiseptic sentences and disinfect hip-hop of sex and chemical fetishes. Whoa. Yeah, I stay clean spitting with it. Characters cross me, I delete them like the Twitter limit. I keep it easy on the mental for the simple critics. So the flow is constant, but the consciousness is intermittent. I'm just trying to collect remittance without pen and lyrics, about sipping Henny spirits. So my folks can say the alpha and omega's in it. Plus, I think I'd rather down a Guinness. Excel.
And we're back on the Blackhouse at 106.1 FM, and I'm in the studio here with Paida Mahowa.
Paida Mahowa.
Mahowa, sorry.
No, that's okay. It's the Shona. It gets you every time.
Hey, tell us where we can find the platform.
So platform is on Instagram. So it'll be _ PLTFRM_. So if you can't find it, that's where you find it on Instagram. And yeah, so that's where you find that. And then I'm on is Gems by Paida as well, if you're looking for me specifically.
Okay.
So that's GEMSBYPAIDA. Forgot how to spell my name for a second.
And how and that's how people if people go there, they'll be able to get in contact with you if they say, hey, I think you should be talking to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds really good.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to go on to the next thing. I went to an event at the Roxy Cinema, and I was really impressed with the way that you facilitated that.
Yeah.
Tell us about what went into the build up for that. What was that all? Yeah.
So it was called Black Noise Unplugged. So that was put together by the Black Community Project that I mentioned before, Black Community Project Aotearoa. So look them up on Facebook. So they invited me along to just come and facilitate their panel discussion portion of the evening. So but the big thing is really a celebration of putting the march on that had happened earlier, and kind of finding a way of what's next. And the big thing was having music and stuff. So we had taps, and we had Sweto was there. We had different guest speakers and performers who were really awesome, whose names are missing right now, but they were really great. A lot of Pacifica Māori people who came along as well, who supported us. And there was a lady who does poetry that was really awesome who was there. But it was really hey guys, we put this massive thing on together, let's celebrate it, let's have a discussion point that will tell us, hey, what can we do next? Yeah.
And so do you have any things planned to do next, like another Roxy, or maybe addressing some particular issues?
Well, if you don't know, a lot of the people in the Black Community Project, they're all students, and really kind of focusing on that study portion. So it's a bit kind of low at the moment in terms of specific events. But we're really kind of wanting to build also self-care, building ourselves up after such a
COVID.
Enormous thing. It takes a toll on people. Not only the protest part of it, but also dealing with COVID and stuff. But it's just we've put something in the air. We've okay guys, we're gonna gather Black Community Project Aotearoa, and then they just said, hey, you're one of the people that would love to help support us. So then I came on and did the kind of facilitated the discussion that we were heading. We couldn't do a lot of it because time ran out of us, but it was a really nice opportunity to just celebrate the key people who helped put the march together.
Okay. I like the focus on creative stuff and like celebrating and everything else. But what do you see? How do you see young activists today, especially African youth activists?
Yeah.
How do you see them getting involved with addressing systemic racism in New Zealand now? What areas do you think?
Yeah, first of all, I want to acknowledge that they're very brave, because these are not easy conversations to have, and these are not easy things to kind of put your head up and say, hey, I'm going to talk about it, because for a lot of us it is traumatic in terms of like I'm having to live out some of the worst parts of being a human being, and being black, whatever. So I think their space is really not kind of putting a pigeonhole of how you're gonna address systemic racism, because your existence is activism. Like, so my big thing, I think what the youth really bring is that they're going into places and spaces and being fully themselves, and that's the thing that's a really good start and a phenomenal start, I would like to say, because that takes a lot of courage, because we could always kind of like, do what is right to this situation so that I don't stand out, so that people don't say I'm weird or whatever, or like, what are you trying to do?
The code switching.
Yeah, the code switching, removing that, taking that out.
Yeah.
That's a really big, good start. And then also just finding ways to be more organized, like if we want to speak into something more specific, like if there are issues in our communities that are really important to us, kind of not being afraid to go out there and seek the funding and be like, hey, Air New Zealand or whoever gives out funding, I don't know who you are, to be like, hey, this is what we're trying to do, and kind of push and be advocates for ourselves to say, you might not see it as being important, but it's important to us.
Yes, exactly. And then anybody can apply for funding. You don't have to ask permission from somebody else. If you've got a project that you want to work on, get on it.
Yeah,
jump on that funding and get that project supported somehow financially, hopefully, because a lot of stuff comes out of your pocket when you're coming from an under-resourced community.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we saw that a lot. A lot of people put out a lot of not only themselves but also their finances in order to push like things like the protest together and that kind of thing, to put it together. And I think one way people really can help is by reaching out to groups like the Black Community Project, because people are just starting out and saying, hey guys, like we already have this platform, or we already have this thing going on. Can we collaborate? Can we give you a space to be able to speak into something that we don't have the knowledge about, but I know a lot of you come with lived experience which is top notch, and a lot of us smart and onto it about certain things, and that's how you can really, that's our start. First of all, being yourself 100% and being proud in who you are and what you bring to New Zealand, and
especially like your capabilities.
100%.
Don't play them down. If you're capable of doing whatever it is that you're doing, like I was really amazed at your ability to talk on stage and just keep that facilitating going. Whatever was going on behind the scenes, you just managed to like. And I was thinking, she's weaving her magic there. That was pretty amazing.
So I like talking. So if you want me to facilitate your events or give me a talk show, I'm available.
Oh, awesome. So I think like that whole thing about funding is really important, because I think I know when I was a lot younger, I always thought it was somebody else's responsibility. Like it wasn't, I didn't have the right to. And I got used to never having the right to. Because the space was never there. And it's taken me a lot, and I think that's my passion for what I do, is that I don't think people should have to wait until they're my age before they realise, hang on a minute, I do have a right to. Because
that's like the Blackhouse. That's like one of the big things I wanted to, thank you for the opportunity to come on. But that's what you're really doing, is putting a pillar in the sand and saying, okay, we've never had radio that caters to our community before, or that's all about us, and trying to understand and celebrate what we have going on, instead of waiting around for the one day someone's there might be like, hey, does anyone know? And you're like, nah, I'm gonna do it myself. And I think that pioneering spirit is something first I really admire about you.
Oh, thank you.
And and also just kind of and that's the thing though.
It's a little bit of bullheadedness too.
Why not?
And thick skin.
Why not?
And just like, somebody gonna stab me in the back again. Go on.
I've been
try
through
it.
this
I got a
before.
turtle shower.
Yeah. No, strength, like it's awesome. But Yeah, so the big thing is kind of not being afraid to feel like you have a space, because that's what what people want from you. That's why people do things, pursue racism or sexism or whatever it is, because they want power.
Yeah.
And so by you kind of saying, hey, I have a right to be I always say this, if I wasn't supposed to be in New Zealand, immigration would have found me ages ago.
Yeah.
Because from the day I stepped into New Zealand, they know where I've lived, where I've been, who's my parents, who am I related to. So I have every right, and that passport says I can be here, so why not be allowed to kind of make my place and enjoy this land that has
100%, and I
for me.
100%, and I think like it's especially when you've been in this country from such a young age, like you've got your roots in Zimbabwe, but New Zealand's been raising you.
Home,
you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and and it's about owning the space that you're in as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we were chatting about this before about having a foot in both worlds, and sometimes and how that can be sort of like. I don't know if it's like an investment or an underinvestment in where you are, and it's what I'm really hoping from everything that you young people are doing is that you're owning where you are.
Exactly.
Because you have to.
Yeah. I first want to acknowledge and say that, like, me having the ability to be in New Zealand is not possible without the presence of Tangata Whenua. So, that's a big history and something that we don't acknowledge enough in New Zealand. So I don't know if it's a way of saying thank you or a saying of just acknowledging, because I think that's really, really important. And I don't want, like, as much as we talk about we have a stake, we have a claim, but we know the history of this country, and it's important to know that we wouldn't be here without the backs of them. And so, with making that claim, I want to see it be collaborative. I want to see New Zealand like heal and come to a place where, we acknowledge what has happened in it, but also giving everyone the opportunity to make the best of what we do have. And I think everyone working cross-culturally, different communities, but also like if you're African of African descent, and you are in New Zealand, this is where you call your home for however long you want it to be. You have a right, to be able to make that space for yourself.
100%. Okay, where are we up to, T? I'm just watching time. Right, I'm going to go to the next track. Let's do it. We got time. We got a track coming up now from Mike Acox, who's in Sydney via Ghana, Sydney-based artist via Ghana, who's been around. He's done some tracks with our boy Solo, but today we're going to play a track called Florence. He's got catchy melodies. This is some Afro beats from Mike Acox. Let's go.
Feel spiritual. Listen, fine, I'm gonna get fine, Genevieve. Fine, Yvonne Nelson. Fine, I'm gonna get fine, Beyonce. Fine, Florence. Fine, I'm gonna get fine, Genevieve. Fine, Yvonne Nelson. Fine, I'm gonna get fine, Beyonce. Fine, Florence. Although you was around, no, but you makuma. Take me from zero, no, you will take me to hero. We got do it on a mellow. Baby, taste so nice, so Coke Zero. On your basa. One time. Baby, I go like you die, yo. Make all them girls vote me for president. Baby, you day in my elements. I don't know my chucky, my tusu, tarago, and it's cemento. No one for break up, unbreakable. Fine, omoge, fine, chioma, fine, Genevieve. Fine, omoge, fine, Genevieve. Fine, Yvonne Nelson. Fine, omoge, fine, chioma. Fine, for long, so Odo you. Hey, Tinapa. Odo no yemi dese. Tinapa. Odi mami anajuni anopa. Tinapa. Odo no yemi dese. Tinapa. Holding me body, touching me body. get nothing. My baby, she freaky, under the sheety. Baby, you give me hits. Baby, singing my song, oh. Put that shit on repeat, oh. You know, say that thing is a hit, oh. And you know, say be cold on the beat, oh. Baby, singing my song. Put that thing on repeat, oh. And you know, say be cold on the beat, oh. Fine, I'm gonna get fine, Genevieve. Fine, 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 Yvonne Nelson. Fine, I'm gonna get fine, Beyonce. Fine, 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 Florence, oh. Fine, I'm gonna get fine, Genevieve. Fine, 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 Yvonne Nelson. Fine, I'm gonna get fine, Beyonce. Fine, 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 Florence, oh. Dinaba, 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 dinaba. Adi mami yana juni yanaba. Dinaba, 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 dinaba. Listen, hey.
Hey, you're back on the Blackhouse. I'm just going to do... Oh, we're on 106.1 FM. I've got to say that every quarter. I'm not going to forget it this time. Hey, so I'm just going to do some quick shout-outs. We don't have very much this week. So I just want to give a shout-out to the Vibrant Africa Family event that's happening at the moment. If you're not out there, get out there. It's from 10:30 till 15:30, but knowing African time, it's probably still going on now. It's probably going on till 5. It's at Bucklands and Eastern Beach Memorial Hall, 48 The Parade, Bucklands Beach. It's today. It's happening now. They've got family fun, markets, entertainment, prizes, kids face painting, DJ Ace, fashion, performances, arts, crafts, food, appearances, kids playland area, balloon fun. It's all going on up in Auckland. And apparently our one's going to be coming up on November the 7th. I'll probably have some shout-outs for that later. And also, we got Rosemary Bennett. She's doing a Kids Got Talent dance competition. And all talents are welcome to participate. Registration fee is $10. Kids can participate from age 5 to 15 years. And prizes will be awarded to the best dancers. So you just contact Rosemary Bennett on 021-256-110 or email rosemarymay392@hotmail.com. And the actual competition, the dance competition, is going to be on the 25th of October at Massafinia's Corner, 237 Airfield Road, Papakura, Auckland. And entry will be $5, but kids will enter free, of course. And she's also a candidate in the Mrs. Universe New Zealand competition, which is going to be in 2021. Hey, do you have anybody you want to shout out while you're on radio?
Well, I think I said it before, just because he's my brother. Shout out Wagwan. But I was also, I think you were mentioning some podcasts and stuff that you're really into. And one person I did just discover is from the Unpack. It's called Unpack Podcast.
Oh, yes, with Tabby and Kai.
Yeah. That was like a new thing that I'm really into, that I really love. So, I don't know if you guys are listening, but you're doing a great job and we love it.
Yeah. We interviewed, Kai was one of our first interviews.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but we haven't interviewed Tabby yet.
Yeah.
So you could be my hookup for that. Right? You just make the connects.
I don't know if I just enjoyed the podcast, but sure. Look it up.
Okay, so just to finish off, because we're gonna wind it up at about 3:55. But is there anything else that you want to tell us about the BLM thing, or maybe even what would be social inhibitors to young people actually getting in and getting into that sort of stuff?
I think maybe don't discount your age is a big thing, because a lot of us might think I haven't done uni or I haven't done anything really important, but you have something to contribute. And so a big takeaway would be just own the space of whatever you bring to the table. If you like to draw, just do it in a way that other people can access your art. Or
like you're enough.
You're enough. That's
yeah.
a big thing, because I think a lot of what the world tells us is like, unless you conform or look like this, look like that, you're not enough. And I think one of the big things that is really was showing, even from the protests, even from the Unplugged event, the Black Community Project, we're actually saying that we're enough to even have a space. We're enough to even want to contribute to New Zealand, and just to ourselves, because my big thing is we all have the right to have a full life, so just whatever dreams you have, don't be afraid to pursue them, and don't think that there are not people out there in the world who want to support you, so that's the big thing.
Yeah, because I know when I was first getting into a little bit of activism in Taranaki, I was working with a lot of Māori people, and this was during a time when domestic violence and things like that were very severe in our country, and we're still, in a conversation we had we're still in a really bad spot with those sorts of things. And it's also one of those topics that I think that we don't talk enough about in the African community. And it affects all communities. Unfortunately. And I think I became quite sort of politicized then. But I never felt like I had enough education to be talking on it, even though I may have been living it at one point. So, and I think that sometimes your experience, we get told that, no, you've got to have this education. And that your experience isn't enough, or talking from your experience isn't enough. Yet the people who are doing the educating on these things are learning from other people's experiences, which doesn't make any sense to me, right? So I kind of tend to believe that if you are enough,
100%,
and you do have something to bring to the table, and it's kind of like really really letting young people go, hey, I can own this.
100%. Now that's so important, and like you said about the domestic violence and things like that, not being, these are issues that affect our communities, and we need ways to be able to kind of like get the support that is unique to our communities. Shout out to Shakti, is an organization, if people you don't know them, so they cater to Asian, African, Middle Eastern communities to help them in that space. So if anyone is affected by domestic violence, there is a service that caters, that's culturally competent to your communities.
Is it good for African women as well?
Yeah, because it's African, Asian, Middle Eastern. So
the Mila.
So it's all everyone
it's
together.
A thing.
I know who coined that term. Right? I was just like, what's a Mila? Who's that gal? Exactly. But no, so it caters to that community, and so I used to volunteer with them at a point as well. So shout out to them. They're very don't have a lot of funding and stuff like that. So if you want to find a way to support that community, that's a way you can do it. Shakti. So you can look them up. I think they're on Facebook and they're on all those different parts. And
that's also Woman Shine New Zealand. Is actually doing a lot. Are they working with Shakti as well?
I'm not sure. It's been a minute since I volunteered, but it's always something that I always plug to be like, hey, if you're ever in this situation, need that support, they're there. I think a lot of their facilities are in Auckland, but I know Wellington also has a little sector that helps as well from that organisation.
I think when we get enough women in the room, things start happening.
Wow. Say it loud, louder. But no, the contribution of like males and stuff is very, very important. But let's be honest, this world has kind of been centered a little bit around that experience a lot more, and maybe we come from communities where that's centered a lot more as well. But the big thing is everybody has a way to contribute, and everyone should have the right to contribute in their own way. And like we all need each other. Imagine half of your population is not supporting economically. If you do the math, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense at all. But we need to be I think, what do you think of talking about topics that are a little bit taboo or awkward? Sexual abuse.
Wow.
Violence.
Yeah.
What else?
I don't know.
Taboo in the African community.
Yeah. I think it's important because you like even if Yeah, because if you hide a lot of things, a lot of people suffer in silence. So even for me, the big thing is like mental health is something that doesn't...
Mental health is
not
a
really
big one.
Yeah, so if you need a therapist, go see them. There's no shame in that. And like kind of just maybe things that had not been promoted in our communities. But as you know, for a lot of third culture kids, so kids who are maybe born one place but live in a different place outside of their community, you're kind of in between, and there's a lot of things that affect you. Even when you're migrant communities, refugee communities, and you don't always have the space and people to help you navigate that because your parents are busy trying to establish themselves as well. And thank you for that. But like there's support that you might need that's bigger than that. And like, you know, to talk about those things. Like, you know, we know we can't just pray it away, that kind of thing, which is important, and I believe in that as well. But like let's utilize those supports that are also available.
Sometimes the praying away isn't working.
God also made people who are therapists and counselors and doctors, so also utilize that too.
Hey, it's been fantastic having you here today.
Thank you.
We're winding up our hour now. I'm not allowed to talk past the 3:55 mark, otherwise T goes, I'm not going to play that song. Those artists are going to come for me, Mum. I'm not doing it. So
thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to go to our last song of the day, and that is, what do you know? It's my son. It's I Am Solo. He is a Tanzanian Tongan artist, originally from Newtown, who now lives in Sydney. He's about 33 years old. He's still single, girls, and he's over there. He's over there, and he's got a song called Who Do You Think You Are? I Know You're My Son. But anyway, hey, thank you very much, Paida. It was wonderful having you here. I'm sure we're going to be talking more in the future.
Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. See you next week.
Sweet life, plus it's all about you, that's a me life. Sweet life, yeah. Plus it's all about you, that's a me life. Yeah. Who do you think you are? Would you find us? Study psych and you have a way to find us. Always late, but you think you're on time. Switching up the plan, so you're waiting for a sign. Who do you think you are? Would you find us? Study psych and you have a way to find us. Always late, but you think you're on time. Switching up the plan, so you're waiting for a sign. What we argue just cause I can't get through to you, this goes. She don't wanna listen to this noise. Who do you think you are? I mean, girl, like, just who do you think you are? With your mean ass, girl, who do you think you are? I did not mean it like that, but who do you think you are? Yeah. Sweet life, yeah. That's all about you, that's me life. Sweet life, yeah. That's all about you, that's me life. Yeah. Who do you think you are? Would you find us? Study psych and you have a way to find us. Always late, but you think you're on time. Switching up the plan, so you're waiting for a sign. Who do you think you are? Would you find us? Study psych and you have a way to find us. Always late, but you think you're on time. Switching up the plan, so you're waiting for a sign. What we argue just cause I can't get through to you, this goes. She don't wanna listen to this noise.
That program was brought to you by Wellington Access Radio. Get your voice heard.
Thanks New Zealand On Air for funding accessmedia.nz.